So you'll see that message. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen for my presentation. So let me get that started. Whoops, let's get you here and let's get my slideshow ready. Can everyone see the slideshow? I hope. Just put a thumbs up in the chat.
Yep, looks good.
Great, thank you. So, hi, welcome. My name is Laura Cameron. I am the Director of Operations and an Account Manager here at Stitchcraft Marketing. My colleague, Rebecca, is also here as well. She will help us out in the chat, and she may also answer questions if you have specific ones. She is our Facebook certified ad person. So, and some of what I will be talking about today is very relevant to Facebook ads. So, welcome to Stitchcraft Marketing Office Hours. We provide these once a month with a little bit of free content for you. We explore topics we think you might be interested in. We like to come to the hour with a little something to share with you. And then the presentation will be relatively short. And at the end of it, if you would like to ask us questions, you can ask us questions about the presentation or about anything else. Any questions are fair game. And Rebecca and I will try to answer them to the best of our abilities. If you are not attending live, if you are watching on YouTube, I will put some links underneath the description on where you can find us for more information, but we hope you enjoy this content. And for those of you who are here, it will be added to our YouTube stream sometime this afternoon, as soon as it's finished compiling over at Zoom, and I can download it and get it sort of transferred over there. And all of our previous sessions, well, okay, most of our previous sessions are available on YouTube. I don't think we recorded for the first few that we did. We started this in the pandemic just as a way to give you a little bit of extra advice. So today we're going to talk about a few new trends in marketing and sales to try in your business. And those of you who have been with us before know that I build a lot of these presentations also on blog content that we create. Today's is a little bit different in that it's an amalgamation of several different blog posts that we have posted, I think in the last 6 months or so, on some emerging marketing trends. I just like to keep my ear to the ground and hear what's coming. I know that in our craft market, we're not always working with the latest in technology, but these are trends to think about and be aware of, and whether or not you add them to your marketing strategy toolbox right now. You certainly don't have to, but they are some things to think about. And particularly the third one that I'm going to talk about today is going to become more of an issue. So let's get started. This is kind of an overview of what I'm going to cover today. And I like to provide this, or I'm providing this slide today, even though I don't usually. Hang on just a second. There we go. Okay, stay. So these are the three topics that I'm going to be covering today. One is hyperlocal marketing, one is conversational marketing, and the last one is the importance of first-party data. And we'll talk about what all of these mean, we'll define them, we'll talk about how you can implement them just in a kind of overview, but we have blog posts on each of these three topics. So if you would like to delve deeper into it, there is a lot more detail on the blog, and then you're also welcome to contact us if you'd like more information. So hyperlocal marketing, what is it? Hyperlocal marketing is a process of targeting customers who are in your geographic area. The idea is that you are trying to kind of touch all the people who might be able to physically come into your shop. So hyperlocal is definitely not as much use for online commerce. You can use it for that, but in general, you're trying to increase your footprint and let people in a certain geographic area around you know that you are there. So that is I guess that's the only one I've got there. I thought I had more. So why include hyperlocal marketing in your strategy? There are, wow, I'm just really not great with it. There we go. Really not great with the technology today. So the first thing is you want to bring more foot traffic into your business. And as people come and visit your store, they're going to get to know you. They're hopefully going to get to like you and trust you. And ultimately, you hope that's going to convert them more to sales. So hyperlocal marketing is a way to try and drive traffic into your brick and mortar. The thing you have going for you is we talked about some marketing trends in some of our recent presentations. Globally, customers want to support local businesses. Support for small, local stores that are not huge multinational chains and corporations is at an all-time high. People feel like they can trust the businesses in their community. There has just been a lot of shop local and support local movements in the last couple years, particularly in the pandemic. So you want to try and get people to, experience the shop that they have in their own town. The other thing that you want to do is Google is spending a lot of money trying to provide searchers with information and options where to purchase near them. So whether or not customers type near me into Google when they're looking for something, a lot of times the first thing that's going to come up these days is shops local to you. If you look for, so for instance, if I'm looking for yarn, if I type in yarn store, I might get lots of information about all kinds of yarn stores, but I'm also going to get several hits for yarn stores that are in my town, kind of promoting them promoting them to me so that I can go shop there rather than shopping online. Obviously, e-commerce is a big thing, but you also want to increase traffic, particularly as the world opens up and you want to bring people back to your stores and show them that your stores are safe and that you sort of want to welcome them back to face-to-face. So Google searches for local businesses have grown more than 80% year over year, and searches for who has a certain item in stock have grown more than 8,000% year over. These statistics are from April 2021. They are from the beginning of the pandemic. So you can imagine that a lot of people were looking for very specific things in stock during the pandemic so that they could make one trip. But I don't think we're going to see this going away. Google is trying to provide searchers with everything they're looking for and more and make it easy for them to shop. And so the more you can make your business easy for Google to recommend, the better you're going to do. So how do you maximize your visibility in local searches? The first thing is make and optimize a Google business profile. This is 100% free to you. So if you do not take advantage of this, you are really missing out. If you just go to Google business profile, you can establish a profile from your business. You can add things like your address, your hours of operation, your phone number. If you need to make appointments, you can add photos of your business and the products and services you offer. You can answer questions, people can review you. All of this shows up on your Google business profile, and it is all for free. The more you can flesh that out, and remember to keep it accurate. Remember, if you enter at one time but you change your summer hours, change it on Google, because again, if people are looking for a local quilt store that they want to go shop at, if your hours say that you are open now and you're not open when they get there, they're going to be kind of disappointed. But they also, if your opening hours are accurate, they also might see, oh, it's 6 o'clock, I missed them today, but wait, they're open tomorrow at 10 a.m. I could go then. So you definitely want to make sure this is up to snuff. Brush up on your word of mouth marketing. Remember to just put phrases in your social media, in your newsletters, as you deal with customers that say, be sure to tell a friend about us. You know, your happy customers are going to be your best referrers of traffic, particularly to people in town. But even if you're sending out a newsletter, at the bottom say, hey, do you have a friend who might like to see this newsletter? Forward it to them. You know, you want to build your word of mouth marketing and make sure that you're inviting more people to engage with you. Brush up on your SEO. This is a big, longer topic. And we actually have a white paper called Improving Your SEO in 5 Simple Steps. We have some blog posts about it. And then, like I said, it's also a white paper, and you can get that for free. You are probably already on our mailing list. If you want to see this PDF, let me know in the chat and I will send it to you afterwards. But this is kind of a free guide that sort of gets you through how you can improve some of the SEO for your website. Finally, display your contact information prominently on your website. Excuse me. Customers need to be able to find you. If you have a brick and mortar, you have to have your address on your website. You should have your hours that you are open, and you should have a way for them to contact you. That may or may not be a telephone, depending on what kind of business you're in and if you do or don't have a brick and mortar store. What is the way you want to hear from customers if they have questions? Maybe it's a chat bot, maybe it's email, maybe it's a phone number. If they need to have an appointment to come in, we know a lot of shops went to appointments only or were limiting people in store during the pandemic. Make that information apparent on your homepage so that everyone can figure out how to visit your store and purchase some of what you're offering. So let's move on to how to add hyperlocal marketing to your strategy. So there are some paid and some free ways to do this. Paid, you could launch a Google Ads campaign. We have someone that we work with who is a Google Ads manager, so we can help optimize the way you appear in paid ads on Google. If you Google search results, some of the results show up at the top and it says paid or it says ad. Those are the people who have paid for placement there. You can pay for placement there, and it doesn't have to be a ton of money, but if you want your shop to show up in more searches, that is one way to do it. You could launch a Facebook or Instagram ad campaign, and this is why I said Rebecca is incredibly useful here. We can do some geo-targeting on Facebook so that your ads go out to people who identify as in your geographic area. So for instance, if you are having a big event in town and you want to notify anyone within a 20-mile radius, 30-mile radius, 50-mile radius, anyone who's within a drive for a great afternoon, or whatever you're doing, we can target your Facebook campaign only to people in a certain geographic area. So for hyperlocal marketing, that is a definite boon. And I don't know 100% for sure, but I suspect we can do something similar on Instagram as long as people share their location. So that's part of it. You can create local content marketing. If your town is known for something, you can create marketing around that. So for instance, we are participating in the H&H Americas conference. And one of the things we have been building for H&H Americas is things to do in Rosemont. We had one post on dinner and drinks. Rosemont, Illinois is right near where the convention center is. It's where the convention center is. So we put together a list of all the restaurants in the area and places that you could go for dinner or drinks with either by yourself or with clients. We also did one that was kind of like culture and entertainment. So if you're looking to go out for the evening, if you want to see live music, or if you want to go to a bowling alley or whatever, we've created posts on their blog, which aren't specifically craft focused, but help people who are attending the show. One of the ways to do this is I have a client who has a yarn store in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and Guthrie, Oklahoma does a bunch of really wonderful events sort of at different times of the year. And one of the things that they do is they do a bunch of haunted houses around Halloween. So she put together a kit for Halloween, and then she created a blog post about come visit us, come purchase your kit for Halloween. And while you're here, be sure to go to the donut shop because you don't want to miss the donuts, and be sure to have dinner here and then go on your ghost tour here. So it's kind of creating it's creating content around other attractions that are local. So you're actually going to rate for those attractions as well. And then people are also going to see you have a yarn store, so they could do some shopping while they're in town. Or if people are trying to visit you, say from a town a couple hours away, and they want to make a day of it, you've now given them some options to come to your shop, but also to eat somewhere or go check out the art galleries or find some entertainment in town. And you've helped them build that trip. And now when people search for content in your town, either ghost tours or yarn, they're going to come up with both. So I am just going to take a quick peek at our participants. I am going to mute just because it's a little distracting. So just so you know, I went ahead and muted you. So that is kind of all I have to say about hyperlocal marketing, but it is something to think about. And again, this is something to sort of drive more local traffic. The next topic that we talked about was, we did talk a little bit about conversational marketing. I believe this was in February of this year. And conversational marketing is kind of what it sounds like. It's basically all about having a conversation with your customer. But the deal is that these days, not everyone is going to come into your brick and mortar store. When someone comes into your brick and mortar store, you greet them, you offer them assistance, you show them the products in your store, you try and help them build a project. You can share your expertise with them. When your customers are shopping online for e-commerce, they may not be willing to, if they're not available to come in your store because they live at a geographic distance, you're going to have to somehow approximate that relationship with them. And the way you do that is conversational marketing. So it basically takes this interpersonal relationship and it moves it online using things like chatbot and live chat platforms, or interaction on social media, direct messages, those kinds of things. These are the customers who are going to reach out to you via any any of your platforms and try and have a conversation with you about something that they've seen, a product, learning more information, asking you for a little bit of help. And it's important to participate in this process, although I will say that you don't have to participate on every single platform. We do have some recommendations for that. So why include conversational marketing in your strategy? If I remember, this is an opportunity to engage with customers, and it's an important way to grow your customer base. Particularly, we saw a lot of this in the pandemic when people couldn't physically come to your location. But for those of you who expanded your footprint in the pandemic and you now have more customers either nationwide or worldwide, it's a great way to keep in touch with them and to engage with them. It's an important tool to retain in-person interaction. I am knocking on wood and crossing every crossable I can that we do not have another pandemic, that we do not have to go back into lockdown, but it is not outside of the possibility. It is not an outside possibility. Let me think about this. It is an outside possibility that we could eventually have something like this happen again. And if you have to close your brick and mortar store, how do you retain those connections with your customers? How do you build on what you've already built so that you have people still shopping with you? US Census Bureau data shows that e-commerce sales rose a ton in 2020. Obviously, this was the pandemic, but they are actually predicted to exceed $1 trillion for the first time in 2022. We have a lot of customers who are not going back to the way things were before. They're just going to keep buying online. So, you know, you don't want to completely discount all the work that you did in the pandemic to build your clientele online. Some people are going to prefer that as a method. Also, the other thing that I like to talk about is there was a certain segment of the population to whom your store was not accessible before, because they were never able to come to your store, either because they lived at a geographic distance or because they have potentially mobility issues or transportation issues. These are a market that you can still serve with virtual options. So if you're engaging with them on social media and letting there be opportunities for them to participate virtually, you're going to keep them as customers or continue to build that customer base. It is speedy and convenient. They don't have to come into your store. You don't have to be open at a specific time. They can leave you a message and you can return it as soon as you are able. It is mobile friendly. Everybody spends a lot of time on their phones. Some of us wish we didn't spend as much time on our phones, but it is convenient. So in 2021, 79% of smartphone owners use their device to make a purchase, and mobile commerce comprises 73% of total e-commerce. Again, this was back in 2021. The numbers may be a little bit different now, but people buy stuff on their phones. So if you are conveniently accessible to them on their phones, that's going to be useful. So how can you add this to your strategy? How can you personalize your customers' shopping experience? You know, maybe it's, you know, chatting with them about their next project, about what colors they want. Maybe it's taking a quick photo of a couple, you know, if they're looking at a quilt, maybe it's taking a quick photo of a print with a few solids or blenders to see what they like the most. Maybe it is actually, we have had clients who did private FaceTime shopping sessions. So when you couldn't come to the store, you could book an appointment with a sales associate and they would take you through the store and give you your own personal little shopping experience. You know, these are things that we may have to resort to again. They may not be the way you want to sell all the time, but again, if you have a customer who's mobile challenged, can you walk around the store and show them some new products? Will that encourage them to buy even if they can't come and touch and feel things in person? What are your most frequently asked questions? What do customers always ask you about? Hint, some of these are going to be your hours. Do you ship worldwide? You know, what are the questions that you most often get asked? Can you create an FAQ that answers these questions? And can you implement that into some of your conversational marketing? Many e-commerce platforms offer chatbot and live chat integrations. So if you are running your site on Shopify, you may be able to integrate a chatbot. So people, if they ask, do you have this in stock? Does this come in other colors? Some of those kinds of things may be able to be automated. Facebook Messenger, a lot of people like Facebook Messenger. A lot of people don't like Facebook Messenger. Let me give you an idea for Facebook Messenger, or a Facebook chatbot, which you can also add to your Facebook page. If you do not want to be on Facebook all the time, but you find a lot of your customers are on Facebook, you can use the Messenger or the autoresponder to respond back whenever anyone asks you a question. Hey, This is not the platform that I spend the most of my time on. If you want a quicker answer to your question, please contact me at. You can redirect everyone to the platform of your choice. So if you would rather they email you for an answer, great. If you would rather they call your shop for an answer, great. This also can help you not feel like you have to be beholden to 12 different platforms, answering messages on 12 different platforms at all times. Tell people where you want to receive that information. Remember, you will need to check these, but maybe you're checking Facebook once every other day or a couple times a week rather than every day or multiple times a day to see if those requests are there, because you're also giving them an opportunity to get information from you faster in the method in which you want to use it. So remember to offer a live option. If your chat is not sufficient, they can, or if your autoresponder is not sufficient, remind them that they can call you or come in. That you can certainly, like I said, try and direct them where you want them to be. It just provides you more ways to engage with them if they're not going to physically come into your store. And I will say a lot of people don't like making phone calls anymore. They prefer to text or chat, and they're okay with a slight delay in getting an answer to the information, but that is the method they would prefer. And even though you may not love it, meeting your customers where they're at is important to keeping them engaged. Okay, the last topic that I'm going to talk about is zero or first-party data. What is it? So first-party data is data that you collect from your own properties. It's data that you own. It is data from your website. So any email address, contact information, those kinds of things that you collect via transactions, your newsletter platform, any data that you have about who's opening your emails, what are they clicking, are they spending money with you, your point of sale system. Those are the applications that you use. This is in contrast to third-party data, which is data that is owned by somebody else. Think about all your followers on Facebook, all your followers on Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest. Those are people that you don't actually own their data. If Facebook were to go away tomorrow, and I'm not predicting anything, but if Facebook were to go away tomorrow, you would no longer have that group of people to speak to. First-party data ensures that you own the data and you can continue to use this. So, and zero-party data is data that the customer gives you themselves. So for instance, if you send out a survey and they give you answers about what products they like the most and what tutorials they're most interested in, or if they want to come to events or take classes, all of that is information that they gave you, and that is considered zero-party data. So why is this important? Data that you get from Google, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and other platforms is owned by them. And recently, we've seen a lot of concern towards data security and data privacy. Many of you remember that last year we talked about when the iPhone went to iOS 14, when the iPhone and iPad went to iOS 14, the default changed. So now people have to opt in to sharing their data rather than opting out of sharing their data. And that means that Facebook and Instagram do not collect as much data as they once did. Google is starting to phase out third-party cookies. So if your site hosts cookies, or uses cookies to kind of track your customers, Google is working on phasing them out. So in the absence of all of this, you are really going to need to start to collect some data on your customers if you want to know more about them, about who they are, what their buying habits are, their demographics, their traits, those kinds of things. So I already talked about iOS 14. And like I said, the answer to this is to collect your own data from customers so you can better target your marketing to meet their needs. So how to add this to your strategy. I know this seems like a huge project. This is not something you're going to do overnight. This is something that you're going to do iteratively. First, install Google Analytics on your website. If you already have it installed, Google Analytics is going away next year and they're moving to Google Analytics 4. If you are a client of the agency, you will be receiving some information about that. You actually should have received a little bit of information about it already. We will be producing blog articles and we will be working to bring you a service that will help you to do that in the next year. But if you don't have Google Analytics, installing it on your website is pretty easy. You just go to googleanalytics.com or I think it's analytics.google.com. You register for a free account, and then you follow it through the process of hooking it up to your website, which means you'll install a tiny snippet of code in your website just so that Google Analytics and your website can talk to each other. And Google Analytics will start to capture information about your website. Where are people coming from when they click on your website? Who is referring them to your website? Are they finding it organically? Are they finding it through your ads? Are they finding it through direct links? So are they accessing your website from, say, you gave them a direct link in a newsletter? How long are they staying on your site? How many pages are they clicking when they're there? This is all useful information because it tells us how customers use your site and what's most popular on your site, so that we can try and create more of what's most popular and try and improve their shopping experience and their browsing experience. Your point of sale system is a huge source of information. Obviously, you can compile some demographic information on your customers, their contact information, their name, their email. You also have the opportunity to add other notes. You can add their birthday, which means you could send them a birthday greeting. You could also record what their preferences are. You could set up a few things. For instance, if you have a yarn store, maybe some customers like knitting, some customers like crochet. Maybe you've got some people who are absolute beginners. You've got some people who are more advanced. Tracking some of that information will help you target offers to the right group of customers. Yes, if you are on Shopify, you will get a lot of Google Analytics information through there. The question is precisely, are you using that and how are you interpreting that? I think you guys actually already gave us, I will say that you guys give us access to your Google Analytics, so I am including that in the dashboard that we walk through because you are a customer with us, and we can help people set up their Google Analytics. If you are not a customer of ours, we can help you set up your Google Analytics and then kind of help interpret what it's telling you, or you can interpret it yourself. That is possible. I've taken a few courses on Google Analytics, and Google also offers some free courses on how to use Google Analytics and how to get to the data you want. So that some of that data is already being captured. The other things that you can use your point of sale service system for is, what are their buying habits? How often do they buy? What is their purchase size? It's a place to store customer relationship information, their preferences, their demographic data. Like I said, birthdays, what kinds of products they're most interested in. If you do not have a newsletter, you definitely need a newsletter. Building your newsletter list. These are customers who have given you their email address, contact information, and said, yes, please, I want to hear more about you. These are your most primed group of customers to shop with you. And building that newsletter list with those email addresses means that even if your social media goes away tomorrow, you can still reach out to that group of customers. It also gives you lots of information on your customers. Who are the most engaged? How often do they open your newsletters? And conversely, who are the least engaged? Who are the ones who don't really open your newsletters? What do they find most interesting? If you look at what they're clicking in your newsletters, it can tell you what content they find the most interesting. For instance, one of my clients is Eucalan. They are a wool wash company. And in the newsletters that we send out to the consumers, there are a variety of consumers of Eucalan. It is a delicate wash. It can be used in crafting. It can also be used as a delicate wash for delicates like lingerie, swimsuits, that kind of thing. It can also be used for caring for cloth diapering for babies. So we have a lot of different segments. We have a lot of different markets that we're trying to reach in the newsletters. And in the beginning, when I wanted to try and segment the population a little bit, to try and figure out how better to target things. For instance, one of the posts that I do for them is a knitting pattern roundup. Each season I go out and I pull together a whole bunch of new patterns in a blog post and link to them and say, here are the new patterns we saw that we think are fascinating this season. That is like the #1 link in my newsletters. That's where everybody clicks on that link. So I know that I need to continue doing those blog posts and creating that content because that is what those customers are very specifically interested in. So you can tell based on what they're clicking on what it is that interests them the most, and then you can do more of that. So the other thing that a newsletter platform allows you to do, it allows you to measure your return on investment per send. If you link your newsletter platform to your actual e-commerce system, then the newsletter links will actually track purchases that result from clicking those links in the newsletter. So you can actually get a figure that is revenue, how many people actually bought clicking on links in your newsletter, and how much money did you actually make. So, so that is a huge boon. And really, when you're selecting your newsletter platform, you can check out what newsletter platforms work with what point of sale system services. I will say that if you have a point of sale system, some of them also have their own newsletter programs. So you may decide to use some of that. For instance, like I know Shopify has developed their own on platform or plugin to handle your newsletter traffic. And I haven't looked at it in a couple of years. When I first looked at it, it was pretty rudimentary. It didn't have all the kind of bells and whistles that some of the other platforms do, but I'm sure those are getting better. And if you use a newsletter service, if you use the newsletter features of your already existing point of sale service system, then you've already got your data built in there. And that allows you to kind of seamlessly integrate your systems. So that is something to consider sort of as you're adding first-party data to your strategy. So how to manage your first-party data. This can be easy or complex depending on how much data you want to collect. There are customer relationship management software programs that you can use to handle a lot of this data. Most of our clients are small business entrepreneurs, so you're using your point of sale system and your newsletter system to manage a lot of this data. We manage it through tagging, so using tags to segment our customers. Obviously, if you have money to spend, the more you can get into a lot more granular and really be targeting a lot finer groups of customers. And we can make some recommendations if that is a place where you're at. You may be able to manage this yourself with the use of your point of sale system or MailChimp or Constant Contact or other platforms. And then, like I said, there are customer relationship modules, particularly in Shopify. There are lots of plugins that you can get to manage this if you so desire. Again, they will cost you, but there's a lot of simple data that a lot of companies are not mining out of their point of sale system and out of their MailChimp already. And so we can do quite a bit on our own to try and get a little bit more targeted with your sends and boost your conversion rate. So the final thing is how to keep your first-party data private and secure. Like I said, data privacy is becoming a greater concern for consumers, which is part of the reason why we're seeing third-party platforms have less access to it. People are less likely to share. A few things that you can do to make sure that your data is private and secure. Make sure that your site has a secure protocol. This is something that you can talk to your web person about if you haven't already. This makes sure that any information that customers are providing you with is encrypted and encoded so that it is not easily hackable, so that you can keep their data and information safe. HTTPS just gives them that extra sense of security. This is just a little technical information about it. Like I said, it encrypts the data. And then a bonus is that Google rankings prioritize the safety and security of your website. So if your website is very secure, and adding that security protocol to it will bump you up in the Google rankings. So, you know, that's a win-win. People will find you more often. So that's kind of the extent of the prepared material that I have. I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share, and I will welcome any questions. As I said, they do not have to be about the topic at hand. We're happy to answer anything. This is your chance for a little free advice if you would like some. I will also go ahead and stop the recording, so that way you don't have to be on camera. So we'll do